Why would Tristan Finch want to set up a clinic in Orris Hill? Weren't they only staying here to repay his kindness? And what happens? The Wells family, father and son, go and wreck his clinic. He was fuming and couldn't just let that go. Just then, Roman came back with Bradley. Instead of taking Bradley back to their table, he dragged him right over to Charlie. When he reached Charlie, Roman bowed his head slightly and spoke respectfully. "Mr. Wade, my son was being a fool just now and offended you. I've brought him here to apologize. I hope you won't hold it against him." Charlie had just hung up the phone and was still angry. Seeing Roman bring Bradley over to apologize was unexpected. He knew Roman wanted the rejuvenation pill, so he decided to play along. He smiled calmly and said, "Mr. Wells, according to you and your son, I'm just a live-in son-in-law, a total garbage bag. Why would I be worthy of an apology from someone like you? To you, I'm just a piece of trash, someone you can yell at or hit whenever you feel like it, right?" When Roman heard this, he knew Charlie wasn't going to let this slide. So with a stern look, he yelled at Bradley, "You damn fool! Get on your knees for Mr. Wade!" As soon as he said that, many people turned to look. They wondered to themselves, would a member of the Wells family really kneel to Mr. Wade? Bradley's scalp tingled with rage, and his face felt hot. He was the young master of the Wells family, after all. In Orris Hill, he was the ultimate rich kid. And now he was being told to kneel for some worthless man. If word of this got out, how could he ever show his face in public again? As he hesitated, Charlie glanced over at his father, and a jolt of fear went through Bradley. He was terrified of Roman's anger, so he had no choice but to grit his teeth, bend his knees, and kneel on the ground in humiliation. "Hey! Mr. Bradley actually kneeled!" The crowd erupted in gasps and whispers. Bradley's face burned with so much shame he wished he could just die. Seeing him kneeling, Roman didn't miss a beat and yelled, "What are you waiting for? Apologize to Mr. Wade right now!" Bradley could only force out the words through gritted teeth. "Mr. Wade, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please forgive me." Charlie said calmly, "An insincere apology is pointless. It's better to just not say anything. It saves everyone's time and avoids wasting our energy." When Roman heard this, he instantly understood that just making his son kneel wasn't going to be enough to satisfy Charlie. So he shouted angrily, "Get on the ground and start bowing and scraping! Beg Mr. Wade for his forgiveness!" Bradley gritted his teeth, leaned over, and groveled. "Mr. Wade, please forgive me for being so impulsive. I am so sorry." Charlie smiled playfully and said, "Well, since you apologized so sincerely, we'll just say this whole thing never happened." Roman finally let out a sigh of relief. He couldn't wait to blurt out, "Mr. Wade, there's something I need to ask. I was wondering if you might sell me a rejuvenation pill. I'm prepared to offer $1 billion for it." Everyone there was stunned. Wasn't the offer just $500 million? And now it's $1 billion, just like that? The Wells family really was unbelievably rich. To them, $1 billion or even $1.8 billion was probably nothing. Charlie gave a slight smile and said, "Mr. Wells, you're getting way ahead of yourself. First of all, I don't have a rejuvenation pill to sell. But even if I did, I wouldn't sell it for $1 billion. And even if I were willing to sell one for $1 billion, I would never, ever sell it to you." With that, Charlie snorted coldly. "I'm the kind of person who doesn't forget. I remember very clearly how you were just shouting that I was responsible for what happened to Finian Harrison, and how you were going to make me pay the price. Now you're coming to me for medicine? What do you take me for? A goldfish with a 7-second memory?" When Roman heard what Charlie said, he tensed up. He knew Charlie wouldn't let things go so easily, but he had offered a sky-high price of $1 billion. He figured the huge sum of money would make Charlie forget their little disagreement. But he never expected that this guy wouldn't even bat an eye at $1 billion. Instead, the first thing he did was bring up their old problems. Normally, no matter how big the deal, if Roman ran into a negotiator like this, he would have just walked away. But now, he really didn't dare to leave. Deep down, he was totally captivated by the rejuvenation pill. It was like he was under a spell, his mind completely filled with thoughts of the pill and what it could do for him. So, he dropped to his knees almost without a second thought. He clasped his hands together and said to Charlie with deep respect, "Mr. Wade, that was me, Roman Wells, who was out of line. I didn't realize who you were. Everyone in Oris Hill knows you're a king in disguise. Please, don't hold a grudge against an ordinary guy like me." Roman chose his words carefully. To stop Charlie from stepping all over him, he deliberately hyped him up. At that point, most people would have let it go. However, Charlie's issue wasn't just some minor squabble with the Wells family and his son. More importantly, they had trashed Tristan Finch's clinic. Charlie had to settle this score, or he wouldn't be able to let it go. So, Charlie looked at Roman, smiled faintly, and said, $1 billion is definitely a sincere offer, Mr. Wells. But your apology seems a little less sincere than your son's. Roman was stunned for a moment. Then it hit him. Charlie didn't think he'd bowed low enough. He didn't think bowing like that was humiliating, not when a rejuvenation pill was on the line. Thinking of this, he didn't hesitate and bowed his head all the way to the floor. After he finished, Roman looked up and said earnestly, "Mr. Wade, please give me a chance. If you're willing to sell me a rejuvenation pill, I'll have $1 billion wired to your account immediately." Charlie looked at him with a playful smile and said, "The rejuvenation pill? Well, it's simple, really. You guessed right, I do have another one, but I was keeping it for myself. But since your price is so good, I can consider selling it to you." As he spoke, Charlie reached into his pocket and slowly pulled out a small wooden box, exactly like the one he had given to Mr. Smith. He opened it, and sure enough, there was a rejuvenation pill inside. After taking out the pill, Charlie stood up and addressed everyone in the room. "Everyone, the rejuvenation pill is incredibly important. I was keeping one back for myself, and I hope you can forgive me for that. I'll be honest with all of you. There is indeed one more, but this one was for me. I truly had no intention of selling it, but Mr. Wells was very sincere and made a very generous offer, so I really have to think about it carefully." Even though everyone there was desperate for that rejuvenation pill, they were powerless to do anything about it. After all, very few people can come up with $1 billion in cash. There were probably no more than 5 people in the room who could. Besides, who would even dare to compete with the Wells family right now? For this very medicine, Roman and his son had knelt on the ground before Charlie. If someone tried to outbid him now, were they just asking for trouble? Roman gazed at the rejuvenation pill, breathing in its fresh medicinal scent. He said excitedly, "Mr. Wade, as long as you're willing to sell it, I'll pay $1 billion in cash right now." Charlie smiled slightly. "Hold on. Before we talk about the rejuvenation pill, there's something else we haven't cleared up." "Something else?" Roman frowned and asked, "What is it?" Charlie's expression slowly darkened, and he asked in a cold voice, "Tristan Finch and I are good friends. You and your son smashed up his clinic. What about that?" Hearing this, Cedric's face turned grim, and he couldn't help but frown. He snapped, "Roman, Dr. Finch is a respected expert in Oris Hill. He's saved countless lives, and he's a good friend of mine. Why would you smash his clinic?" When Roman heard this, his head started to pound. He never expected that Tristan Finch and Charlie were friends. This was a really tricky spot. He had no idea about this connection before. He just thought Finch was some well-known old doctor. Since he couldn't convince him, he figured smashing up his shop would put on enough pressure to force him to see his younger son. But he never expected to stir up this much trouble. However, he was desperate to get his hands on the Rejuvenate. Just then, an idea sparked. He pointed to Bradley standing beside him and said with fake anger, "Hey, this is all my son's fault. He's impulsive and doesn't think things through. I have no choice but to discipline him for this." Bradley's face twitched. He really didn't expect to be thrown under the bus like that. He was furious, but he didn't dare show it. Since his dad made him take the fall, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and play along. So he lowered his head and said, "I'm sorry. Smashing up the genius doctor's shop was my fault. I was being impulsive. Please forgive me, Mr. Wade." Roman quickly added, "Mr. Wade, you can rest assured. We'll pay for all of the genius doctor's losses, 10 times over." Charlie said lightly, "Some things can't be solved by just throwing money at them." Roman asked quickly, "Then how do you want to solve this?" "Me?" Charlie looked at him and smiled. "My solution is very simple." With that, Charlie deliberately slowed his pace, his eyes locking onto Bradley. As their eyes met, Bradley felt a knot of fear tighten in his stomach from the fierce look in Charlie's eyes. While he was still trying to guess what kind of solution Charlie had in mind, Charlie suddenly moved. He grabbed Bradley's right wrist and gave it a sharp twist. There was a sickening click, and just like that, Charlie had broken Bradley's right wrist. "What?" Bradley screamed in pain. His face flushed red, then instantly went deathly pale. "It's broken! My hand is broken! Charlie, you're a dead man!" Charlie tossed the severed hand aside and said, "You smashed up Tristan Finch's clinic, so I took your hand. Call it a fair trade." Bradley screamed in pain. "Dad, this piece of crap cut off my hand! I'm going to kill him! I want him dead!" Roman was completely dumbfounded. He never imagined Charlie would go after his son so directly, or that he'd be so ruthless as to sever his hand right then and there. But even then, his mind was still set on getting that rejuvenation pill. For him, if Charlie was willing to sell him the pill, then his son losing a hand was a price he could accept. Once he got the rejuvenation pill, he'd find Charlie and settle the score. So, with a grim expression, he spoke up. "Mr. Wade, my son has paid the price for trashing the genius doctor's clinic. Now, can you sell me the rejuvenating pills?" "The rejuvenation pill," Charlie said. He took the pill out of a small wooden box and dangled it in front of Roman. At that moment, Roman's eyes were glued to the rejuvenation pill, practically glowing with desire. He never expected Charlie to suddenly crack a smirk and say playfully, "You know, compared to your billions, I think I'd rather just eat this myself." And with that, he put the rejuvenation pill in his mouth, chewed it a couple of times, and swallowed it whole. Roman was stunned as he watched Charlie swallow the rejuvenation pill. His shock quickly turned to pure rage. Only then did he realize that Charlie had been playing him from the very beginning. Charlie never intended to sell the pill. He just wanted to humiliate Roman and his son in front of everyone. And to think, Roman had naively believed his $1 billion offer had actually swayed Charlie, that all he had to do was apologize and the pill would be his. The thought that he'd been played so thoroughly and that his son's hand had been crippled by this man made Roman so furious he could have exploded. He scrambled up from the ground and screamed, "Charlie, I swear I'll kill you if it's the last thing I do!" With that, he whipped out his cell phone and called his bodyguards. His security team was made up of masters. all of them elite soldiers who had retired from the military. They might look like regular guys, but every single one of them was a top-tier killer. You could say they were the kind of men who had been to hell and back. But Charlie just stood there, looking completely calm and unmoved. After swallowing the rejuvenation pill, he felt a wave of heat rolling through his body. He'd already taken 5 or 6 of them before. While one more wouldn't make him younger, it definitely boosted his physical strength. Right now, he was buzzing with energy and looking for a release. If the Wells family's bodyguards dared to make a move, he would be more than happy to clean them all up in one go. However, he hadn't expected Cedric to let out a cold snort. The old man suddenly shot to his feet and roared angrily, "Roman, your Wells family might be powerful, but the Smith family is no pushover. I'd like to see just how mighty you think you are, daring to harm a distinguished guest of the Smith family in my own home." Then Cedric bellowed, "Security! Surround this hall now! If anyone dares to lay a single finger on Mr. Wade today, you beat them down!"
Roman glared at Cedric, gritting his teeth in fury.
Mr. Smith. He made a fool of me and my son, and he broke my son's hand. You still want to protect him? Is the Smith family openly declaring war on the Wells family? Cedric's voice was like ice. Mr. Wade is the Smith family's benefactor. He saved my life. If you insist on fighting Mr. Wade, then you are fighting the entire Smith family. Ugh, good, fine, perfect, Roman snarled, his teeth grinding together. The Smith family is really something else. You have no respect for the Wells family at all. Do you think just because this is your turf, you can walk all over my family and treat us like dirt? Cedric replied arrogantly. The Smiths are gracious people. We don't walk all over others. But if someone tries to harm our benefactor on our property, then I'm sorry. I don't care who they are. My family will not stand for it. Cedric's roar echoed through the hall, shocking everyone present. In his long life, the old master had seen it all. He'd weathered countless storms and fought every kind of battle, giving him an air of quiet authority, a powerful presence that didn't need anger to be felt. On top of that, he had just taken the rejuvenating pills, and his energy was overflowing. When he finally showed his anger, it was truly staggering. Roman Wells felt a surge of panic. He'd only brought a few bodyguards with him to Oris Hill. They were top-tier guys, sure, but against the sheer numbers of the Smith family, they didn't stand a chance. This was the Smith family's home turf, after all. He could see dozens of their guards out in the open. Who knew how many more were hidden out of sight? If a real fight broke out, Roman knew he wouldn't come out on top. His best bodyguards might be able to fight their way out, but he and his son weren't fighters. They'd probably get hurt, or worse, the Smith family might just decide to keep them here permanently.
The Wells family was powerful, no doubt, but their influence was centered back in Savannah. That was too far away to help them now. Realizing this, Roman Wells knew he had to back down, at least for now. So he sneered and said, "Mr. Smith, are you really trying to burn bridges with our Wells family? Fine, if that's how you want it, then on behalf of the Wells family, I'm cutting all ties with the Smith family. From this moment on, our families are enemies." Seeing this, Honor quickly stood up and blurted out, "Grandpa, our Smith family and the Wells family have been allies for years. Please, think this through." Honor didn't want to see the two families completely break off. He was also hoping to marry Warnia into the Wells family. If the two families completely broke things off, that would never be possible. Cedric glanced at Honor and said lightly, "There's nothing to think twice about. The Wells family is powerful, but our Smith family can't afford to be associated with them. From this moment on, the Smith family is cutting all ties with the Wells family." Everyone in the room was stunned. Nobody could believe that a birthday party had led to a complete break between the powerful Wells family and the Smith family. It looked like things in Oris Hill were about to change dramatically. Roman's angry eyes darted between Cedric and Charlie. He spat out furiously. "So this is the Smith family. And you, Master Wade, I, Roman Wells, will remember this. You just watch. Bradley, let's go." With that, Roman helped his son Bradley up and started to leave. Charlie said, "You think this is over?" Roman turned his head, his voice dripping with venom. "What do you want?" "I broke your son's hand to teach him a lesson," Charlie said. "But you still have to pay for smashing up Tristan Finch's shop." Then Charlie added, his tone leaving no room for argument. "You will pay Tristan 10 times the damages within 3 days. You will also apologize to him and beg for his forgiveness. Otherwise, I'll break Bradley's other hand." When Roman heard this, his eyes turned cold and murderous. He roared, his eyes practically bulging with rage. "Charlie, you've got some nerve! Do you have any idea who the Wells family is in the Southlight District? You cross me, and I'll make sure there's not enough of you left to bury." Charlie sneered. "Don't stand there talking tough to me. Your Wells family means less than nothing to me. I suggest you pay Tristan and get out of Oris Hill. Otherwise, you and your son might not make it out of here alive." "You!" Roman truly couldn't believe how insane Charlie was. He wanted to kill Charlie right then and there, but when he remembered Cedric's unwavering stance, he had no choice but to swallow his anger for now. But in his mind, Charlie was already a dead man. But now wasn't the right time to kill him. Once he got back, he'd come up with a solid plan. If that wasn't enough, he'd bring in some heavy hitters from the Wells family to take out Charlie and the Smith family once and for all. With that thought, Roman Wells waved his hand angrily and snapped, "Bradley, let's go." Then he grabbed Bradley, who was nursing his broken hand, and stormed out of the Smith family villa, completely humiliated. Honor watched Roman's retreating back, then glanced at Warnia and Charlie, who was more than 10 years younger than her. He gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with resentment. For him, this was a huge loss. All of a sudden, his grandpa was looking at another 10 years of life. Charlie was getting all the credit, with Warnia riding his coattails. On top of that, Grandpa had completely cut ties with the powerful Wells family, all for Charlie. If things kept going this way, who knew? Maybe one day Grandpa would just announce that Warnia was the next heir. And if that happened, wouldn't he be left with nothing? Roman and Bradley left the Smiths' villa, absolutely furious. Bradley clutched his broken hand, his voice thick with tears. "Dad! I told you we shouldn't have begged that loser Wade. Now my hand is broken, and he humiliated you in front of everyone. We've lost all our reputation." Roman's face was dark with anger. "Since Wade is asking to die, don't blame me for being ruthless." "Don't worry, Dad will get revenge for you," Bradley blurted out. "Then let's kill Charlie tonight." "No," Roman said coldly. "We stick to the original plan. First we kill Orvel. Take out Orvel and his crew, and getting to Charlie